State Farm and DJ Dramos from Life as a Gringo know making smarter financial moves today secures your financial freedom for a successful tomorrow.
Now we have a level of privilege that our parents never had. So what do we do with it, right? How do we utilize the opportunities that we have that they don't, right? And a lot of that is educating ourselves on how to not make the same mistakes they did.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. State Farm, proud sponsor of My Cultura Podcast Network.
Hey, it's Kim Commando Today, your daily podcast to keep you up to date with all things digital and beyond. And I'd love to have you be a part of our podcast. You can make an appointment to speak with me. Just head over to commando.com, and on the top right, there's a button that says Email Kim. Fill that out, and that's it. When I read about Brett Allred and his son, I thought to myself, what can I do to help? How can I help Brett? How can I help other young adults like Riley? Because here's what happened. Riley committed suicide, 23 years old, earlier this year. And like any grieving parent, Brett was searching for any type of memories on Riley's phone. Of course, going to look at the pictures, voicemails, memories of happier times. But what he found on Riley's phone was far worse than he ever could imagine. Screenshots of a website where people encourage others to end their lives. And they give step-by-step instructions, almost as if you were looking at, say, a meatloaf recipe on a website. Now, Brett believes that if his son Riley hadn't seen this website, that Riley would still be alive today. And so now Brett is on a mission to raise awareness and to help other parents protect their children. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, normally we like to talk about happy things, great things here on the Kim Commando Show, how to better your lives, how to be inspirational to others. And this is going to be a difficult conversation for you to hear. It is. But this is a conversation that you need to know about. These are websites that you need to fully understand that they exist. Because maybe somebody around you, maybe your own son, daughter, granddaughter, grandson, nephew, niece, whoever it may be, maybe it's even you. These websites are there for people at their most vulnerable site. Right? These websites are there for people at their most vulnerable place. They don't want to be here. And they go to these websites, and instead of support, what they need at that time, they get these step-by-step instructions. Brett, thank you for being here with us.
Kim, thank you so much for having me on your show and creating awareness about this incredibly disturbing and, quite frankly, disgusting thing that's just out there on the internet. And I'm on a mission to help save lives, prevent parents, prevent loved ones from having to grieve the loss unnecessarily of someone who is, as you said, their most emotionally vulnerable state.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So tell me about your son Riley.
So my son Riley was just a great kid. Just a normal kid. I mean, loved sports. We like to joke with him and call him fair weather fan, just because whatever team was winning, it was his favorite, right? So, Tom Brady, LeBron James. Oh, now I love this team. Now I love that team. I mean, right? Just a sports junkie. He was enrolled in Oklahoma State, then ended up transferring to University of Arizona, where he was taking classes online, and he's a fun, good kid, had a good sense of humor, real dry sense of humor. We used to play pranks on each other, and I miss the heck out of him. Just a delight to be around.
So what do you think happened that sparked him to seek out information about committing suicide?
So it's hard to connect the dots, but kind of what I think is probably the culmination of a perfect storm. And someone that young who hasn't experienced a full life, going through significant emotional events such as maybe not doing well in school, break up with a girlfriend, those things that are traumatic then, but when you're my age, that's
it's another day.
Every day, right? Yeah, right. It's another day in the office. And so back then, you think the world was over, right? Like, oh my gosh, my girlfriend just dumped me. Oh my gosh, I just lost my job. Oh my gosh, I didn't do well on this test. Yeah, I failed this test, or whatever the case may be.
Do you think the pandemic, being not socialized for a while, had an impact on that?
So thank you for bringing that up. So there was absolutely an incredible change in his persona when the pandemic. He used to be very lively, very outgoing, just very happy-go-lucky. And when the pandemic hit is when I noticed the isolation. He would just kind of hole up in his bedroom, shades drawn, so his room was very dark, played video games a lot, would watch TV, would never come out, couldn't go to classes because, most universities were, just take your classes online and whatever. And I noticed this pattern, and I used to, he was living with me at the time, and I used to encourage him, hey, get out of your room, go get some sunlight, go walk, let's go play basketball. Let's go do something, invite friends over, go see your friends. Right. And just that was when I noticed just this, he created this habit, right, of being alone.
Well, and it was isolation at a very important developmental stage. That's right. Your son, 23. I have a 23-year-old son, and when he worked so hard to get into USC, and went through high school and joined all the clubs and everything, to go to the University of Southern California. And then he did it in his bedroom. I saw that he was so deflated. And
yes.
And you mentioned the room being dark. The room was dark. I'd go in there and pull the shades and tell him I know you're going to USC, so we've got to get the Hot Wheels poster off your bedroom wall, because now you're in college, and I know you were expecting to do the whole frat party or whatever you wanted to do. But I do see that not just with him, but I saw that also with his friends around him.
Yeah.
That this was a very important time in their lives, that, when we went to college, we were there and having a great time, and we drank too much, and, thank God there was no social media.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah. They were robbed of that for a period of time. Right. And so, it's interesting you say that. So school started back in a lot of colleges and universities and places all over the country. And, going through Instagram and stuff, I'm seeing all my friends do their sons and daughters, bid day, or, they're getting in their fraternities or bid days and sororities and whatnot. And I think back and I think, my son never really got to do that, because when he went to college, it was right at the pandemic.
Exactly.
And so last week was kind of a really tough week, because as I was scrolling through Instagram, I was seeing all that and just going, I'll never get to have that. I'll never get to have grandkids do that. Right. Like Riley was my only child. And so I was having some flashbacks and just thinking, man, he was robbed of those times, due to no one's fault. I mean, it's a pandemic. What do you do about that? Right?
Yeah, and that's just it. You couldn't do anything.
Right.
It was just this whole weirdo thing that took over the globe. I remember, I'm sure you feel the same way, right? I remember sitting there watching people in Italy and thinking it's happening to them. It's happening to Japan, everywhere, wherever we were. So pandemic ends. What did Riley do after the pandemic?
So started to gradually get back into normalcy, but I looking back, I wonder if those habits, the habit of staying in the room, the habit of holing up, didn't just kind of become his new normal.
Yeah,
right?
I bet you. You know what? It sounds like it certainly could.
And he would go to class, but there seemed to be a lack of motivation, a lack of desire to even resume life as normal. If that makes any sense, it was almost as if
he may have been grieving, have been grieving the life that he thought that he would have, and and I will tell you on a very personal level. I was engaged to a gentleman in my 20s. And we were probably 6 months from getting married. Not probably. We were about 6 months from getting married. And he died in a plane crash. And I will tell you that it took me a while to get over the fact that my world could be taken away from me in a nanosecond. And that may have been, I don't know Riley, but I'm just thinking he was up and at 'em and going, and then the pandemic hit, and then his life was jarred away from him. And getting out of that hole, it takes a lot. I can tell you personally, it takes a lot. You're in that hole, you're in a hole now. And to get you out is what you're doing now is fabulous, because you're talking to people around the world, not just in the United States, around the world. I mean, my editor at the Daily Mail is the woman who wrote the piece about you.
Wow.
And so you are bringing awareness to people that are, like we talked about, in an emotional, vulnerable state, right? That can go online and it's suddenly normal. Whereas, and I've looked at these pages, and you use the word, it is disgusting. It is. These are pro-suicide sites. These are not places where they're going to say, here's a warning. If you're thinking about this, call the hotline, reach out to a friend. No. It's not there.
Those words that you just said, pro-suicide, can you even, those words don't even belong in the same sentence together.
No. They don't.
To this day, I'm still, I don't even have the words really. I just
you probably didn't expect to find that on Riley's devices, right?
So I'll never forget. This was probably 2 weeks or so, maybe a week or so. About 2 weeks after he was gone, and about a week or so after his service, and I had his phone in my possession, and I said, "Okay, I'm strong. I can do this. I'm going to go through his phone." Not to look for anything suspicious or spy on him. It was, as you said in the open, I wanted to see pictures of him smiling, goofing around with his buddies. Silly videos of them doing stupid college kid stuff, whatever they do, right? And happy times, right? I was hoping to find pictures of him and I, and maybe pictures of him when he was little, whatever the case may be. And because it was the last thing he had taken screenshots of, the first thing I saw was the last thing he saw.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And I actually, as strange as this may sound, when I thought my mind was playing tricks on me. I thought it was an illusion, right? I just thought, but I'm not. What am I looking at? That's not there.
Well, it's unbelievable.
Then,
I mean, it's like, what am I? Yeah, what is this?
Correct. And the more I stared, I still couldn't believe it, Kim. And because the first, I won't get into it, but the first what I was looking at was exactly the manner in which my son had died, which is why I thought my mind was playing tricks on me.
Oh.
And so I quickly scrolled, and I saw another image for another manner in which, and I scrolled again, and all I just kept seeing was these images, and I thought, what am I looking at? And then I looked up at the top, and I saw the URL, and I vomited because my reaction was, I quickly connected the dots, and I thought, my son learned how to take his own life from the internet. And Kim, I will preface this by saying I'm not delusional enough, and I'm not delusional or naive to think that my son may or may not have done this, regardless of the website or not.
For sure, I understand.
But I will say, but I know my son. I know my son. He was very risk averse. Always wearing his seatbelt, right? Well, why do you wear your seatbelt? It's to protect yourself from dying in a car crash or getting injured, right? My son wouldn't dive into a swimming pool. He was kind of afraid, like, well, what if I break my neck? If I hit the bottom of the pool and break my neck? I mean, right? So if he wasn't going to do those things, he wouldn't risk taking his life unless he knew it was going to be successful, because a failure of that success would mean
yes,
you could have a permanent injury, right?
Correct.
Like you could have some deformity or going through the rest of your life eating your dinner through a tube, right? Whatever the case may be. And so the only reason he went through was he knew this is going to work. And that's what is so upsetting. And so, again, my son was in a dark place, and I'm not naive to ignore that.
Well, you're honest, Brett. I mean, you are.
Yeah. But to find the recipe to do it, and to find people saying, "Yeah, go do this, bro. We'll see you on the other side," and to say things like, "Yeah, blame your parents. You didn't have a choice to be here. Your parents put you here. They're at fault. Get revenge at them. Do this." I mean, right? Just disgusting, abhorrent things, and it just. But thanks to the USA Today and Charlie Trapani for doing the article, and thanks to you I've heard from people all over the world who read the article, and there are many, many, many other people like this, unfortunately. And I wish this wasn't the case.
I think I read that the New York Times say that this website gets 6 million page views a month.
Isn't that awful?
It's horrible.
So what I'm doing now, and this is the first time I'm going to publicly say this, I spent 25 years in politics as my professional background, serving as an aide to a governor, a congressman, mayor and city council, been a lobbyist, but I am calling on elected officials to somehow ban this, outlaw this. I don't know how that can be done. I know First Amendment rights are going to be a big call on this.
Right. It will be. You're right. It will be.
But somehow, some way, to prey on the emotionally vulnerable in a state like this, and to advocate for pro-suicide, we've got to have common sense that, your First Amendment right ends where my grief begins.
And you'll grieve your whole life, Brett.
That's right.
You will.
That's right.
This is, I always go back to the Psalm. You walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Okay. It doesn't say you can walk around it. It doesn't say you can jump over it. You have to walk through it. And when you walk through it, you'll get to the other side. But Riley is always top of mind.
Yeah.
And I will pray for you. And I'll pray for your son, and I'll pray for your family. And I'm going to pray for your mission, because I believe in it. That we have to, as a society, there are so many with moral issues here, pain, suffering, anguish, that suicide is really a selfish act. And because it's not just you, Brett, you have, I'm sure his mom, extended family, friends, everybody, right? But maybe there's something by talking about it and bringing it to the public, because you know what? Nobody wants to talk about this, right? I mean, it's not fun. It's not fun. It's not fun. But we have a responsibility as a society. And we're going to go back to the pandemic and realize that was hurtful on so many levels. And especially for people who may have been at a vulnerable state at that time. And for whatever reason, that when the pandemic was over, it couldn't be just a light switch that says, okay, everything's fine, we're going to go outside and play. There are a lot of people that still won't leave their houses. I know that for a fact. I know them. They won't leave their home. I mean, they don't go to the ballpark. They don't do anything. But getting back to you, Brett, is that if I can help you, just know that I will. And I wish you some comfort. But I know that your days of suffering are long, and it's going to be a while.
Well, but by having me on your show and giving me this opportunity, that is the best thing you can do, and I'm incredibly grateful. I'm indebted to you and Maddie, your producer, and your entire staff, your studio, everyone, for allowing me to do this. Incredibly, incredibly thankful and grateful.
Well, here's a virtual hug. And again, we're always here for you. Okay, Brett?
Thanks, Kim. Really, really appreciate it. We'll be in touch for sure, okay?
Thank you. Yes, for sure. Now, I do want to say, if you or someone is struggling, you're in a crisis, help is available. Okay, you can call or text 988. That's it. You can go to 988lifeline.org. Okay, you can once again call or text 988, or just you can set up a chat at 988lifeline.org. You're not alone.
This program is a copyrighted production of Westar Multimedia Entertainment and protected by the copyright laws. Any rebroadcast or use of this program for commercial, business, economic, or financial purposes without the written permission of Westar Multimedia Entertainment is strictly prohibited.